Echo 5, do you copy? Echo 5.
Echo 2, good morning. Nice of you to drop by.
Feeling alright, sir? Thought we lost you.
Right now, I feel like I can take on this whole podcast myself.
I know what you mean. Ready to send that transmission to Echo Base?
Yes, sir. R10, patch through.
Welcome, guys, to another transmission from Hoth. Echo 2 here.
Echo 5.
All right. So, just to get a little bit of the news, we've been circling around the HoloNet. We've noticed that they're going to be doing another visual dictionary, but it's going to be for The Mandalorian, which I think is going to be really cool.
Yeah, man, add it up to the collection.
Yeah, I think
it would be cool if they did like a complete. It'd be cool if they did like one of those complete guides, like the one that originally came out when there was just the prequels and the originals. I actually have that one, but it would be cool if they have I don't know if they have a sequel, prequel, and original, like a full Skywalker saga.
All in one now. They just had the individual movie ones. And this one they're calling it the Ultimate Visual Guide, and so
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like the movies where it's gonna like detail everything.
I was gonna
be super.
I was gonna say it'd be cool to get them all, but then they're gonna constantly have more projects, so that'd be pretty. That actually, I don't know how they would do that, because then they have to constantly come out with more and more. I mean, I guess it's a good.
Well, this one is gonna be printed until July 6th, 2021. So I'm sure that they're gonna it's gonna cover a lot of the stuff in the first two seasons.
Sure.
So it's gonna mostly like vehicles, Mandalorian's armor, just maybe a few of the characters. I don't think it's gonna cover like the future stuff. They might toss some of the future stuff in it, or some of like just the concept ideas that they were gonna use. Kind of similar to what they do in the other ones, which I think would be pretty cool. They might even make a couple versions. They might make one for season 1 and 2, and then a second one for the final seasons.
Awesome. I'm more excited for the Mandalorian visual dictionary than I was for the sequel Star Wars ones.
I don't know. The sequel ones actually had a lot of cool stuff in them. I remember thumbing through the Rise of Skywalker, and a lot of the stuff I saw was pretty cool.
I don't know. I like the Mando stuff, man.
I did too, and it's just a different part of the galaxy. With the Mandalorian, they're just opening up so many different avenues and so much more lore that it's really cool to kind of see what they're going to put in that book.
Well, like I was telling you, like in our some of our past discussions, Mandalorian's my type of Star Wars, because it has the new feel. It's got new stuff to introduce, new planets, new creatures, but it's got the old stuff that we're familiar with, and we get to explore that old stuff. And that's what I really like about Mandalorian.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see. So we're excited for that. That's going to hit shelves on July 6th, 2021. You guys can pre-order it already. Just go to Amazon and just type in the Mandalorian Visual Dictionary, and you guys can check that out and get yours all set up for July 6th. So we're going to jump right into the discussion. Before we get into the discussion, we did watch the holiday special, and so we're going to talk a little bit about it, just some of our thoughts about it, some opinions. I actually pretty enjoyed it. Lego always does a really good job, so the way that they just delivered the whole thing was a fun little adventure, hilarious, and they brought back some of the old Lego voices that they used in the other stuff that they did.
Do they have real actors in it? I heard Billy D. Williams voicing Lando, but I wasn't sure about some of the sequel characters. Was that Daisy Ridley?
I believe it was. Okay. I believe they used a lot of them coming back. So what were your overall thoughts on it?
It was fun. It was fun. It was funny. It was kind of I liked a lot of the I think my favorite part was probably when she was fighting Vader and going through all the different times of the movies, like the Phantom Menace time. You see Obi-Wan and kind of arguing with Qui-Gon, saying he's bored about a trade dispute and yada
Mm-hmm.
yada yada. And then he gets all excited when the gas comes up and they and then they get to pull out their lightsabers and then you get to see Anakin and Obi-Wan talking in the elevator when Anakin's all nervous to meet Padme. There's a lot of funny stuff. I love the little bits like the Greedo when he's shooting at both
Han
Han Solos.
Solo's.
He's like, "We got two tot solos," and then it's like to him, and then he's like, "You shoot first," like
After you.
after you. Yep. Thanks. Yeah, there was a lot
Yeah.
of good stuff like that.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, I'd definitely say go give it a shot. I'm
Did you
actually
like the
looking at
Kylo Ren
the
shirt off stuff? That was funny.
yeah.
General
I,
Hux.
I think that's one of the things that I really liked about the Lego Star Wars is that it took a lot of like the comedies, the stuff that the fans were like laughing at through the sequels, and just kind of like brought
Yeah.
it into it and just kind of made fun of it. We were talking about Ray. It's actually voice actor Helen Sadler voiced Ray. Daisy Ridley and uh, John Boyega they didn't come back, but Kelly Marie Tran came back as Rose Tico, and
Okay.
of course
So
Matt
Daisy
Lanter as
Ridley.
Anakin.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. And you could hear gosh, the name's slipping my mind. You can hear Obi-Wan too.
Oh yeah, James Arnold Taylor.
There we go. Yeah, you could hear James Arnold Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could even hear
Anthony Daniels.
yeah, Anthony Daniels. I definitely heard Anthony Daniels. I know for a fact I heard Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, Billy D. Williams was definitely in it.
Yeah.
And D. Bradley Baker came back as the clones.
Yeah,
And
when
he
they're
did Max Rebo.
yeah. Oh, the
What'd you
Max
think of that?
Rebo.
Like,
Nobody listens to Max Rebo anymore. And then
what are
Lando
you
comes
talking
in,
about?
Max Rebo.
Now it's a party.
Yeah, that was the part. Yeah, that was good. That was funny.
Yeah, like I said, like the whole thing takes um, makes fun of itself, and it's definitely a fun little adventure. It doesn't take itself seriously. Uh,
No.
the plot was a little interesting, but I mean, it was really cool that they were
Uh-huh.
actually focusing on him actually a little bit more
Yeah.
with some of the questions that we had from Rise of Skywalker. I don't think this is really considered canon, but they did play with the idea of Finn being force
Force
sensitive,
Builder.
and
Yeah.
so we can pretty much what we'd expect after the sequel trilogy is that Rey is training Finn, and she's kind of struggling as a teacher, and
I
so
actually
it
liked
was
that bit. That was fun.
so it was cool that she was able to kind of like go back and witness the different um, characters in
Yeah.
their prime, and the overall message of her becoming a teacher was
I
pretty
like
cool.
how I like
Although
how
I
the I like how
hated
the
that Finn
Emperor.
called her a Jedi Master because she's not a Jedi Master. Not so
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. 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 Wait, didn't she? She said she was a Jedi Master. Didn't she say that to
Uh,
Vader too, at one point?
I think so, yeah. And I think Disney kind of needs to rethink their
I kind of rolled
idea of
my
what a
eyes at
Jedi
that
Master
part.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have a problem with it, but it takes
Taking
a
a
little
bit
bit more.
far.
Yeah.
They love Ray, man. It's something I don't know what it is. It seems like sometimes Disney just loves their creations like so much that they have to make sure that that's the main thing that's advertised in whatever project they come up with the new Star Wars.
Yeah,
It's like,
because now when you think of Star Wars, I think of Kylo Ren and Rey now just because they're so prominent.
yeah. Well, whenever
I
if
mean,
they have like a blended poster these days, it'll be like Ray and Kylo Ren will be the bigger picture, and then Luke and Solo and everybody else are going to be like the smaller picture on the collage.
well, I mean, it does make sense because they're like the newer generation. Like they're gonna focus
Yeah,
on the newer stars, and so it's like everything behind them is the past, and so they're the future. So granted,
sure.
they're gonna be the
Like
stars of.
anything at Disneyland or Galaxy's Edge is all about
Mhm.
First Order. You don't hear about Empire.
I mean, you do hear about Empire, like they kind of talked about it in the new movies, and like First Order is basically the Empire. It's
Risen from the ashes of the Empire.
correct, yeah. They're just like what was it? Because Palpatine called it like the Second Order and the Final Order and stuff like that, and so
Yeah.
the First Order was just basically the beginnings of the recreation of the Empire.
Oh, I did
And
not know
I
that.
mean that's my
That's really
understanding
cool.
from after I
That
like
actually makes
her
me appreciate it a
emperor
little bit
and.
more, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, because you get it in Battlefront 2, the campaign. They kind of,
Mm,
as soon as the Empire falls, Emperor Palpatine's hologram comes up and it says, uh, commence Operation Cinder and all these different things. And
sure.
so Palpatine had like a plan. If the Empire fell, he had a plan to bring it back.
Hmm.
And so it's really cool that we get to kind of see a lot of that being done, um, especially in The Mandalorian, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
Um, our next point of discussion is we have a lot of fans that are watching The Mandalorian, and so Bo-Katan shows up, and she's like, "Okay, go here, and you're gonna find a Jedi by the name of Ahsoka Tano."
It's funny.
And so a lot of us that have been like with Star Wars, like, we know who Ahsoka is. We've watched Clone Wars, we've watched Rebels, we've delved into the comics a little bit, we've read some of the books, and Ahsoka is probably one of the biggest fan favorites. And so, but for all the new people, they're like, okay, so who's Ahsoka Tano? A lot of you guys have heard of her, but don't know too much about her. So we're gonna kind of discuss a little bit about Ahsoka, so you guys can kind of appreciate who she is and why she's so important.
Mm.
Um, so she originally started as the Padawan to the famous Jedi Knight and war hero Anakin Skywalker.
Remember, she was found by Plo Koon of the Jedi Council.
Which we learn a
On
little bit more in Clone Wars. And
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I thought Ahsoka was annoying when she was first interested in this film. I was like,
in the
Anakin was a
2008 movie.
yeah. And I was like, Anakin has a Padawan. I'm like, she's annoying. Okay. Sky Guy and Snips. I was like, okay, these nicknames are cheesy. All right.
Yeah,
So a lot of the people that haven't watched Clone Wars, I can understand why you're like, oh, this is a kid show. It's super cringy.
it's crazy how far she's come from 2008 until now.
Oh, absolutely. Starting from that first season and going all the way up until
I
the
didn't
final
even like
season to the
her.
Siege of Mandalore.
Not even just the movie. The first few episodes of season one, I still wasn't sold. I think it was more towards the end of season one, maybe even into season two, when she started growing on me.
Hmm. I think like she was actually one of the reasons why I didn't watch Clone Wars. Uh, I don't think I started watching Clone Wars until season 3, and then I think that's when
And
they
then,
brought Maul back, and I was
ironically,
like,
she's the reason you watch it by the end.
very true. Her and Maul. Like I
Yeah.
even didn't want to see it because I
Yes.
heard Maul was
Hey,
coming back, and I was
Darth Maul.
like,
I thought that was cheesy as hell when I first
uh,
heard that was going to happen.
Sam. I was like,
I was like,
they're
oh my
bringing
gosh.
Darth Maul back. I'm like, what are they doing? What are they doing?
Well,
They're
I'm like, the
ruining
guy was
this.
cut in half.
And
How can they bring him back? You know?
yeah, and so I decided to watch it so I can kind of see how they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And that was my reintroduction into Clone Wars. And I was like, holy hell, this is actually really
That's
good.
Mark.
So,
That's funny because I completely stopped watching Clone Wars too, and I remember seeing comics about Darth Maul coming back and like ads about
hmm
him coming back in the Clone Wars in the new season. I'm just like,
hmm
and I remember thinking that was cheesy, and I was obviously curious, and I went back and watched it, and it was really good.
yeah. So yeah, so that's what got me back into Clone Wars, and then watching Ahsoka, they finally got rid of the whole Snips and Sky Guy routine,
Yeah,
and I started to actually enjoy her character more because I actually started developing her a lot more.
she
Because I think,
really developed. I remember. Well, I remember. So the first battle she fought, from my understanding, was the Battle of Christophsis.
hmm
This is back. So she was 14 years old when she first became a Padawan to Anakin Skywalker.
correct.
And by the end of season one was the Battle of Ryloth, which was actually her first command responsibility. And she lost her crew because she disobeyed orders.
Yeah, because she was trying to imitate a lot of the stuff that Anakin was doing, but
Yeah.
she kind of misunderstood how and why he makes certain choices.
Well, he almost had that certain do as I say, not as I do kind of thing too, and for a while. But then he kind of really started growing and becoming wise, almost a little bit more like his master.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really liked about Ahsoka is that there was like some really deep character development with her from the very
Yeah.
beginning. Like you have this 14-year-old who's kind of a little naive or whatever, and coming to Anakin Skywalker, who's a little bit unorthodox in his ways of obeying commands. And so the way that she kind of learns off him. Like she learns a lot of his strategies and kind of like the whole disobeying when was kind of more like Anakin was more about the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law, and
Yeah. He
so
wasn't by the book.
yeah, not at all. And so she kind of
Obi-Wan was by. He was more like Qui-Gon.
yeah, Qui-Gon was pretty much by the book, but he was also a little bit more relaxed with it, more
He
than
was
the
more.
Jedi Council would want.
He was liberal while Obi-Wan's more conservative.
Because if you read the Master and Apprentice book with
Yeah.
Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon butted heads so much with Qui-Gon because Qui-Gon was like, well, the law says this, so we have to do
Yeah.
it this way. And Qui-Gon's like, dude, just take a chill pill. We're doing it this way. All right, well, the council's going to hear about this. Okay, do whatever. And so that's one of the things I really liked about Ahsoka is that she was able to really take a lot of the good qualities of Anakin and even her fighting skills. Like she eventually became a rival to Anakin in lightsaber combat, I would say.
Yeah.
And she was really strong in the Force. I remember in like one of the first battles she was fighting like Asajj Ventress with Luminara, and she was struggling a little bit. And then same thing with Grievous. And then as the seasons go on, you see her skills and abilities like kind of progress to where she's able to make Grievous flee.
Yeah. Well, she had. I mean, she led a lot of victories. I mean, she helped with the victory of the Battle of Geonosis, the Battle of Mon Calamari, or the Mon Cala.
Mm-hmm.
So she was a part of a lot of the victories in the Clone Wars. She really grew. I know season 3 is she changed up her outfit. I don't recall if I think that's when she started the double lightsaber style, but that could have been back in season 2. I want to say that was season 3, but
Season 3, I believe, is when she picked up the double lightsaber style.
that's honestly, I have to say, I know I was saying season 2 she started growing me, but honestly I think it was season 3. I want to say it was season 3 when I really started, when I was sold on Ahsoka. That's when I was really in love with her.
Yeah, because like I said, like she matured a little bit more, so she wasn't quite as annoying.
No,
And
she was
I
maturing.
also and I really liked her because she also, now that you mention it, I remember that I really liked the double lightsabers because the first time we saw something like that was in Attack of the Clones with Anakin
Yeah.
going against Dooku, which only lasted a couple seconds, and I was like, oh man, I really wanted to see that style a little bit more.
Well,
And
then
so it's cool that
later,
we got to see it more in the Clone Wars.
after Revenge of the Sith, we were introduced to the Star Killer style
Mm-hmm.
of the reverse grip, and
Mm-hmm.
then we got Ahsoka did the double reverse grip, which was really cool.
Yeah. And so yeah, so I don't know. So Ahsoka just became like such a great character, um, especially during the Clone Wars. Um,
And the highlight, Siege of Mandalore.
yeah, I was about to say the Siege of Mandalore. I think is where they kind of like tipped it off, and you kind of see like her full progression leading into Rebels,
Well,
and you got to
let's not
see her.
forget I didn't mention the whole, the real important fugitive arc.
Oh yeah. Let's rewind back to that real quick.
Sure.
Um, so back to Ahsoka, like getting all the good qualities from Anakin.
Yeah.
I think one of the best qualities that she got from him was questioning everything.
Yeah.
Um, as we see in the arc where she's framed for murder in the Jedi, and they're hunting her down all through Coruscant.
Yeah. The bombing of the Jedi Temple platform, or the
Mm-hmm.
hangar, Jedi
Yeah,
Temple hangar. That was a fun arc because you actually got to see her team up with Asajj Ventress for a short time.
which is another one of my favorite characters that came out of
Yeah.
Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But we'll get more on to her a little bit
Yeah,
later
we'll do
in a
Clone
different.
Wars coverages because some of my favorite Star Wars characters are in there, including Pre Vizsla. So
Yeah,
we'll get into that stuff later, though.
yeah, and so that's why we're kind of like talking a little bit about Ahsoka, so you guys can kind of catch up and kind of feel like our excitement for seeing Ahsoka coming up. It's just because we had
Exactly.
7 seasons of this character,
Yeah.
and seeing her develop and become pretty much a huge fan favorite. And I
Wasn't
think
that one
that's
of the
one.
coolest? I was gonna say, wasn't that one of the coolest shots when she goes up to Anakin and he's like, hey, you're invited back to the Jedi Council sorry, back to the Jedi Order. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
This is exciting, and then
because she left the
oh
Jedi
man,
Order after her name was cleared from that bombing.
yeah,
She's like, "Yep, Jedi's not what I thought they were, so I'm gonna
yeah, and then
leave."
that shot of her walking away from Anakin at the end.
Ah,
That was
heartbreaking.
amazing. Yeah, it was crazy.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. To lead up to another walk away later when he goes off to face the Emperor, or to
True.
save the Emperor, to save the Chancellor at the time.
Yeah, the Siege of Mandalore in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the last time that they see him, and then that's kind of where we
Siege of Coruscant.
see. And this is where we also see a little bit more of the relationship between Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, because most of their interactions before was when Bo-Katan was on Death Watch and
Sure.
Ahsoka was a prisoner. And
Yeah.
so now they're coming up to team up to stop Maul from destroying Mandalore, essentially.
Yeah.
So, which after that, Ahsoka witnesses Order 66. She's able to save Captain Rex, and they end up
Kind of goes into hiding for
escaping.
a while.
Yeah, so she leaves her lightsaber down on, I forget what planet it was, but she leaves it down where the ship crashes and
Where
then
Darth Vader picks it up.
disappears. And so then
She
she disappears.
doesn't she. So she escapes to the planet Rada, right? It's like Raada,
I think so,
and
yeah.
and she has like a code name Ashla for a short term time.
Yeah, if you read the books, the Ahsoka book, which was not one of my favorite writings. A lot of it was a lot of convenient scenarios. Like everything just happened so conveniently and really not much story. I'd probably say I probably would not read it again. I'd read it just for some of the lore that's in it. But if you're expecting a good read, I wasn't that impressed by it.
Yeah.
But you
Is
do learn
that
a little bit about Ahsoka, though.
is that in that book? Is that where she doesn't she? Is because she meets up with Bail Organa and joins the rebellion, and ends up becoming Fulcrum, which we see in Rebels.
Yeah, and she connects to Black Sun for a little bit, and that's one of the things that I thought was a little convenient. Is she's trying to find Bail Organa, gets abducted by the Black Sun, taken to a planet, and then all of a sudden Bail Organa shows up. Like that's what I mean by convenient writing. Well,
It's like a bridge book.
yeah, it's like, well, makes no sense why he's there, but okay, we'll roll with it.
Well, we have to get the Rebels somehow.
Well, no, I'm talking about like the scenarios in the
It's
actual
still a
book.
year, and it's still probably does it actually take place right before Rebels, or is it still years before Rebels?
I think it's still years before Rebels, but it's when it it's when she gets her sabers back, where she constructs new ones because she's drawn to this planet and she feels a connection to the Force, like the crystals are calling her. And so she gets to this mining planet, which the Empire takes over. And so, against her better judgment, she ends up getting involved. And so the Empire's like, "Oh, there's a Jedi here," and so they call in an Inquisitor. Ahsoka kills the Inquisitor, takes their red lightsaber, and takes the crystal out of it. And that's where we get the lore of the crystal turning white because she purifies it. And so that's how she ends up with the white lightsabers in Rebels. And so she then continues on, and she later takes on a secret identity, helping the rebels
Led by
under the name
Harrison
of.
Dula.
And then which connects them to the rest of the rebellion with Bail Organa and Mon Mothma and everybody. And so she plays a big part in helping Kanan, Ezra, and all them.
She actually helped
building
different rebel cells as Fulcrum, but she took a particular interest in the one led by Harrison Dula because of the Jedi that were present in that team.
Which we'll discuss more later. But
Sure.
man, I loved her fight with Vader.
Yeah, it's one of the best scenes in all Star Wars, in my opinion.
I think
that
it's just because.
Oh my gosh, man!
It's because of all the Clone Wars, and then you build up to this point, and then they're sitting there fighting, and the connection between the two. Because she thought Anakin Skywalker is dead at that point.
Yeah. The apprentice lives. That's like long before. But the fight, just that scene where she slashes his helmet and flips over him on their fight on Malachor at the Sith Temple, and then you just hear Matt Lanter's voice, Ahsoka.
Chills, chilling. Bro. Chills.
Yeah, that was insane.
And so then she continues on past Rebels. She actually ends up staying on planet Lothal, which the Phoenix Squadron was protecting. Pretty much
We
what Rebels
actually,
is all.
well, she was saved by Ezra in the that realm, the
The world
time
between
between
worlds.
the world between worlds. Okay, future Ezra saved her, went in there and saved her.
Mm-hmm. And so she ends up surviving past Rebels. She survives past Return of the Jedi, and then we mentioned last time Ezra disappeared with Thrawn, and so
With the
Sabine
unknown
walks up and
regions,
says, "I've got a bigger mission that needs to be
let's go
done."
find
And
Ezra.
Ahsoka, yeah, and so Ahsoka commits to helping Sabine find Ezra. And so I'm wondering about this point if if that's why she's on Kaladin or Corvus or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, so that's our background on Ahsoka. It's kind of a little crash course on her. We missed tons of stuff, but
there's so much. If we
yeah,
would have to do a couple podcasts on Ahsoka.
yeah, there's just so much to talk about.
There's
So
so much lore.
watch the Clone Wars,
Watch Rebels.
um, watch Rebels, get into it. It's worth a watch.
Which, by the way, I think Rebels is highly, highly underrated. Clone Wars is super good, but Rebels, the more I've watched Rebels, the more I've learned to appreciate it. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Um, so now what you guys are all here for is the discussion on the
Oh
fourth
gosh,
episode of Mandalorian. All right, now for our discussion on the siege. All right, so what were your overall thoughts on this episode?
it was surprisingly good. I expected it to be filler after the last episode. There was kind of jokes going around that, oh hey, you're gonna go to the planet, you're gonna go to Corvus, and or Corvon. Why can't I remember the dang name of that planet, Mark? What's the name of the planet?
Corvus.
Oh, it is Corvus. Okay. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so when Bo-Katan tells Din Djarin that he'll find Ahsoka on Corvus, you're sitting here thinking like, okay, it's gonna be like 3-4 episodes before we get there, so we're gonna have to go through a bunch of filler. And then when you watch this episode, you realize, holy crap. Okay, it's I guess you could say it's somewhat filler because he has to stop and go to back to Navarro and refill, and he's like, okay, my buddies, and they're like, hey, let's go on a mission. Um, it's it's
I
kind of
wouldn't really.
not
I
filler
really
because
wouldn't. I was gonna say I
no,
wouldn't
yeah,
call it filler because
no,
it's
it
more story
expands the
build up.
story. No, that's what I
Yeah.
was getting to. It surprisingly expands the story a lot. You get to see more about why Gideon wanted the child and what they're going to do with him, and that was super fascinating. Plus, you got to see Gideon again. You get to see more about Gideon, what his angle is, and
I thought
uh,
his part was a little cheesy in that episode. I'm not gonna lie.
I
At the end,
actually like that. I like that scene. I liked it. I liked it.
I just thought it was cheesy because like
And we'll be ready.
well, yeah, just the way they said it, I thought it was just super cheesy. I was like, okay, all right, whatever. But it was cool.
I was just excited to see him again.
Oh,
I've heard that he mentioned that when he was filming season 2 that he broke a lot of dark saber props,
oh, did you
and
really?
yeah, that's kind of what I've heard, and I'm excited to see. I'm expecting a fight soon, and I know that we've got Ahsoka, and now we're just like, man, is she going to be a part of the finale of the season with possibly Bo-Katan's whole thing with Gideon, which is what I think it's building up to, or is she going to be like a Luke? We kind of talked about this last one, but um, anyway, it's just cool to see more of Moff Gideon. It's cool to see the story progress. Now there's a lot more to look forward to in the next um, 3 episodes, 4
Yeah.
episodes,
Yeah. I think
4 episodes.
I actually think Ahsoka is going to be a big part of this season, or
Yeah.
just the whole overall story now.
You think she'll actually carry on to the rest of the season?
She might, depending on what they do in this next couple episodes.
I feel like our next
We
episode is gonna be like 2 hours long because Ahsoka, like,
well,
how the heck? How do you? Oh my gosh, man! I don't even. I'm kind of like excited and nervous, but I know we're not talking about that episode. I'm just a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
I'm.
We'll get into that a
Oh
little bit
man.
more. We are going to be answering questions later, but we are going to kind of go over, kind of mention one of the questions. It's more like kind of a going to be part of the whole discussion, essentially. My buddy Logan says, "Can you break down the new episode?" And so we'll pretty much spend this next pretty much this next bit just talking about the episode, kind of like breaking it
Okay.
down, maybe not scene by scene, but some of like the key points that really drove a lot of the excitement for this episode.
Sure.
Because I thought it was just gonna be another adventure. He's gonna land. Okay, he's got a time to fix the ship, so he's gonna have a little adventure with Greef Karga and Cara Dune. So that's what he does. He basically lands down on the planet. His ship is destroyed. Shows up, and who's waiting for him? Other than his two side characters from last season.
Hmm.
It's kind of interesting to kind of see how their roles change from last season.
From season 1, yeah. Greef Karga is like totally like a shady bounty hunter you don't feel like you can trust, obviously.
Guild leader.
Yeah. He's the guild leader, and now he's like your best
A
friend.
respectable mayor.
Yeah,
what it seems like.
Cara Dune's the marshal,
cleaning up the place.
Yeah,
which I thought was really cool because we got to see a little bit of her skills
I
without Mando
love
being there.
I love seeing the Aqualish guys with that little ferret creature.
Oh yeah, they're
I-
gonna chop it up and eat it.
Yeah, no, I just really like their usage of these original Star Wars characters. It's awesome.
Oh
It's
yeah,
really cool.
definitely. I think that's one of the cool things is that they're, like you mentioned earlier, they're just doing a lot of mix between Disney stuff and a lot of the old tributes to Lucas's stuff.
And the coolest thing is they're like real, real masks, and they look completely legit.
Yeah. And I actually thought it was really cool. Like speaking like practical stuff is like they had the child just chilling inside all the wires. It's like every time I see the Mandalorian, I'm like, there's no way they can make the child more adorable, and here they go, and they just keep doing it.
Well, it's and he had that cool. He's totally got that father thing going on where he's trying to teach him, electronics and mechanics and
how to fix a ship. So
put the blue one where the red one goes.
Show me the red one. Show me the red one.
And put the red one where the blue one went, and it just keeps like going back and forth. And don't put it. They have reverse, whatever. Like it's gonna blow. It was funny. Yeah,
what I thought was cool is that it kind of shows a little bit of the intelligence of the child. I mean, he is 70 years old, so it's like, okay, he is babyish, but it does show that he is competent enough to understand some of the things and be able to actually do some simple tasks.
Yeah.
At least try to do simple tasks. And as soon as he's like, all right, they got opposite charges, so make sure you keep them separate.
Oh, that's what he said. Yeah, opposite charges.
I knew that he was gonna sit there and go, okay, put them together. I totally saw it coming, but I just thought it was just adorable between the two of them. He's like, well, all right, well, worth a shot. Are you okay? And then he cuts to the scene, and the child's just in there eating soup, just chilling.
Yeah, that was good.
And so he's like, all right, well, let's go to Navarro, and then we get to meet Greef Karga and Cara Dune again. And so he lands, and Greef Karga is like, all right, well, I'll get my best guys to fix your ship. And as soon as I saw that one alien, I was like, that guy looks pretty sus. So he's definitely a spy. He's going to do something.
Yeah, it definitely looks suspicious for sure.
And so I wasn't exactly sure what he was going to do, but he puts like a freaking transmitter on there. And we'll discuss that a little bit more later of why
that's definitely probably
that's going to be such a key piece to what's going to happen in the next episode.
That's pretty freaking exciting, man. Moff Gideon showing up to possibly, because we don't know where Ahsoka's at. And Din Djarin,
Moff Gideon is still such a mysterious character. And this episode kind of gives us a little bit more to who he is and what his goals are.
Yeah.
And his connection to the Empire. And I know I did a little bit of speculating last episode, but I've got some changed opinions about him this time. But I thought it was really cool that we got to see them as soon as he walks away from the ship. We got to see a little bit of the town and kind of like the little bit of the remodeling that was going on.
Yeah, they had the whole school going on,
which was really cool.
Yeah, that was fun. You get to learn about different regions in the galaxy, and you got to see the different runs and It was really fun stuff that you see basically in the visual. It was stuff right out of the visual dictionary.
Which is really cool about those visual dictionaries. And so it's
Yeah,
kind of think of it like a textbook. And so you got to see it actually implemented
yeah.
in
They
the
actually have
show.
a skull in it. No, that was really
And
good.
so they just plop the child down. And she's like, oh, well, what? We can't leave him here. No, he'll be fine. Uh, you don't want to take a child where we're going. He's like, what? All right. And I just thought it was really funny what they did with the child there. That kid just sitting there eating those weird blue cookies.
Uh-huh.
And the baby was like sitting there
Oh,
staring
you
at
knew
him.
he
He's
was
like,
gonna pull him over with the force.
oh, I knew it. And he sticks his hand out. He's like, eh? Eh? And he's like, nope, not sharing. These are mine. So the child's like, yeah, these are mine now. Kind of freaks the kid out. And he's like, I don't know what just happened, but I'm just going to start focusing on the teacher again. I swear, Baby Yoda is always eating every episode.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter what.
He's always freaking hungry.
And so then it kind of brings us back into the real adventure and the core of this episode is Greep Karga takes him back to his little office and it's like, okay, I'm going to show you about this Imperial base that's still here. We want it off here because we want to create a central trade route here. It'll be big for the system. And so we get to see a certain character from the very first episode. What do you think of seeing Mithril back?
Seeing Mithril, that was funny how he mentioned about recovering from the carbonite.
Yeah, he's like, I can still barely see out of my left eye.
Oh, I like that. Right when Mando walked in the room, he like let off that like blue like steam stuff.
Oh yeah, Mando coming in made him anxious. He's like, holy crap, this is the guy that got me.
Yeah, that was funny. No, it was cool to see him kind of develop and become part of the crew. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
He's all
I
worried
really
about his
did enjoy his
speeder and
role. He's kind of like the comic relief.
oh yeah, no, he was. It's funny. I'll just stay. We'll take 100 years off your sentence, your 350-year sentence, and then he's like, here, give me your the tool they're gonna use to try and hack into the system, and he's like, I'm just gonna stay here at the speeder, and he's like, I'll take another 30 years off. Just get your butt over here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's funny.
All right. I'm just gonna wait by the door. You guys just come get me when you're done. All right. Well, you tell us how once we overload the reactor and the lava's coming through. You tell us how that's gonna be. All right. Say
Okay,
no
I'll
more.
get
I'm coming in.
I even like some of his mannerisms too. The second time I watched the episode, just when they're kind of like hanging out at the door and like Mando takes off in his jetpack, he just kind of looks up like, oh, whatever, this guy. Like it was just funny. It was entertaining.
Oh yeah. Like every little thing it just adds to it. It's just I just like the humor that they've developed in this.
Yeah.
So they get up into the facility and Mando goes up and he's like, I thought you said that this was um just a small little remnant base, that there wasn't that many people here. It's like, oh, well, I guess we were wrong.
Yeah, right when they got up, you saw Mando up there with a bunch of dead stormtroopers.
And so then they get into uh, the actual facility,
And
and
then Mithra wanted to use that freighter as he's like that. This will go for a lot on the black market. And they're like, come on, dude, let's go.
nope, we're here to vaporize this base. We want to get the Imperials out of here.
So
It's
what
like,
were they doing? What was the goal? They're going to cut the coolant line so that way
yeah, they're gonna shut down the reactor so that the reactor would overload and release all the lava and
doesn't
just
blow.
basically destroy the entire facility.
Got
And I
it.
think that was like one of the last places there.
Yeah.
That was their goal to get there, and they didn't want to have the black market there because they would have salvaged all that stuff. So they wanted just to get it out of there,
Mm-hmm.
which brings them into getting into the actual place. And what you call it, the Imperials are surprised, like, oh crap! It's like, what's going on? We got people invading the building, and so they get into a higher alert. Then they get into the whole the two secretaries, quote
And
unquote secretary.
Mando's taking out stormtroopers and officers here and there as they go through.
And they're like, "Oh no, uh, destroy everything. Don't let them get any of the information here." But they end up killing them. So and then
Yeah, that was crazy.
they,
Like whatever information they're hiding is so important. They don't care. They're gonna give their lives.
Yeah,
They're more worried about destroying the evidence than their own lives.
exactly. And so Car's like, this isn't a base, this is a lab. And then it cuts over to, I think, one of the probably over to the part that's really got a lot of fans wondering what's going on here, and which caused a lot of the confusion.
Talking about the
And
clone.
if yeah, the meat of the episode, the whole purpose of Moff Gideon and what he's trying to do.
You can see if you look at. I was looking at the second time I saw it, kind of brightened up my screen.
I paused it too.
You can see like a line through the head, sort of like what Snoke had. This
Yeah,
is really interesting.
I believe those were Snoke clones. I think that was like the beginning of Snoke, and that was like kind of like the tie to the
Snoke.
sequels. So
Did you say?
everybody
I thought
wanted
you said.
a
I thought you
story.
said Snoke clones. Snow
Snoke
clones.
clones.
Snow clones.
Snoke clones.
Okay, no worries. That's Snow. They're snow clones.
Snow clones. Yeah, they're snow clones. That's
Snow
exactly what
clone.
they're. Snow
Snow clone.
clones.
Okay,
Snow
all
clone.
right. You get the name of the episode. I'm just
Snow
kidding.
clones. I think that's brilliant.
Stupid.
So,
That's interesting because a lot of people have wondered if they were making a clone army. From what they learned, from the past, doing whatever research they got from the Clone Wars. And then there's also been the theories that this is their attempt to bring back their experiments to bring back the Emperor, which kind of
well,
takes us into the sequel trilogy era.
which I think that's mostly what it is, because we know
Yeah.
that the Emperor was working on something. He especially from Darth Plagueis, he knew a way to have eternal life, and it was a natural way of doing things.
Mm.
Um, and we see a lot of the same test tubes and
Some would consider
everything
to be
on
unnatural.
Exegol. On Exegol,
Sure.
when Kylo Ren is going down to see Emperor
The same type
Palpatine.
of technology.
Yeah, and so I think that's like the research that Palpatine's been doing on the Outer Rim, one of the facilities that just kept going, and I think that was the key part of the child, is that they needed to force sensitive in order to inject the blood into these clones. Either there's a couple theories, either to, like you said, create a clone army that's force sensitive, kind
Sure.
of, which would be a little tribute to what they're doing in the Force Unleashed 2. They
Uh-huh.
took Starkiller and
Made a clone.
made him into clones, and but it was off of Camino. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest things is you just see a bunch of Starkillers coming out, all force sensitive, powerful in the Force,
Yeah.
and or they were just trying to create a worthy vessel for Palpatine
For Palpatine. So they're
to.
work basically these are the seeds of Snoke possibly.
Mm-hmm.
That's really
So
cool.
everybody wanted an origin story on Snoke, and I'm wondering if this is the origin
How they
story that
pull
we're
it
gonna
off.
get. Yeah.
Oh. I think you're onto something. I'm thinking that's what it's going to be because this is 5 years after Return of
Return
the
of the
Jedi.
Jedi.
So we're now about 25 years out still from the sequel trilogy era, but
Mm-hmm.
you still have to build into that anyway.
So I think we're going to see it play a little bit more. And so then they get into that whole recording of that one scientist saying, "Oh, we've exhausted all the blood that we've taken from the child, from the asset, and we don't have
And
any
he's
more."
they found that they're deteriorating. They're not accepting the host.
Yeah, and he's like, "I don't know if we're going to find a stronger subject that we can use."
Yeah.
And this is where I believe Ahsoka is going to be the key point to this
So
whole thing.
you think they'll take
I think.
their focus off the child and go for Ahsoka?
Mm-hmm. That's that's
Wow.
that's my theory. Is Moff Gideon's going to follow Mandalorian, trying to get the child,
Uh-huh.
and they're
And
gonna
realize
find
there's a
Ahsoka.
better one.
There's Ahsoka right there, and so they're
Gotcha.
gonna. And so I think that's where the focus is going to be. I think they might actually capture Ahsoka in the next episode, and then in
Uh-huh.
this finale is going to
They'll
be
be breaking her
Mandalorian
out.
breaking her out,
That'll be fun
and
because you could get Cara Dune together with Greef
Bo-Katan will
Karga,
jump.
and
Bo-Katan
obviously
will have a reason to jump and
Bo-Katan.
help
Yep,
Mando.
yep. And we'll
So
get
it could
we'll
tie a
get
lot
the
of
whole
stuff
crew
in.
back. Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
that would be epic.
So that's just my theory for how the rest of the season is going to play out. Because we
Yeah,
do
that's
know in
cool.
the next episode is going to be titled The Jedi. And so,
Sure.
and that tracking device is going to be how Moff Gideon finds Ahsoka.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so I think the focus will be off the child for a while now that Ahsoka's going to play a part.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how close I am to what
Well,
they're doing.
the next episode is gonna be fun because the next episode we're gonna have one direction or another.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. So I wonder what they're gonna do with the child then after this, because we know that the child's been the main focus for the whole thing, and then I wonder if this is gonna tie up the whole Moff Gideon arc, and if the next season's gonna pull into something else.
It'd be interesting to see if Moff Gideon continues after the season,
Hmm.
or if we get another villain. I feel like he's gonna I feel like he's gonna continue through however many
I
seasons they do.
I think he might continue. I wonder if he's gonna keep the dark saber though. I wonder if it's gonna be a thing for third season, because the way that I
Bo-Katan would
can
have
see,
it.
because the way that I'm seeing it work is it'd be kind of cool. Like, so think of like the final episode. They're going to rescue Ahsoka. They've drained blood out of her, so they can continue on their experiments.
Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka's weak. Bo-Katan ends up finding her lightsabers. Bo-Katan's the one fighting with the white lightsabers against Moff Gideon,
Uh-huh.
and then Moff Gideon escapes with the dark saber, and so that kind of
What
keeps
if
Bo-Katan attached to the show.
what if Baby Yoda heals Ahsoka like we've seen her be able to do, and she regains her power and has like an epic
See,
show like what if Bo-Katan's fighting Moff Gideon, gets overtaken, and then we're just thinking Ahsoka's out of the picture for now because she's weak, she can't fight, and then Baby Yoda comes up, heals her, and then she has this like epic
I won't.
appearance and shows up, and Ahsoka's here and
It
ditches
depends on
trash.
the abilities of healing,
Yeah,
because if your
physical
blood's being
healing or
drained,
force healing is another
like if your
thing.
blood's being drained out of you, you can't really heal that. That's just something you have to
Did you
regenerate.
did you catch when the scientist in the hologram was discussing um, the amount, he was calling it an M count?
Midichlorian count, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but they called it an M count, which is it was
I didn't
obviously
catch that
midichlorian
actually.
count.
No,
Yeah,
I didn't catch that. That's actually really interesting.
yeah,
So I like a lot of the stuff that they're keeping in it, making it really entertaining.
yeah.
Pulling a lot of us in, and
Oh
because I
man,
had
there's
to
a
watch
lot.
it a couple times in order to really pull some of the small stuff out. And I usually have to do that even with the movies. Like the first time I watch it, it's so I can kind of enjoy the story. I'll catch a few things, and then
I got a little thrown off uh, when they're having the chase and Din Djarin shows up in the ship. I know we're
oh
coming over that,
yeah,
but at first I was like, how did he get to the ship so fast? And I'm like, oh yeah, jetpack.
yeah.
They even, and then they
He
told him that the second time I watched it, they're like, go get the child, you got a jetpack. You know, and I didn't catch it the first time.
Yeah, I thought he kind of like just ditched them. I was like, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, you go.
Good job just ditching them and letting them escape on their own.
That speeder bike chase that was awesome. It was funny
Dude,
too and cool.
yeah, no, it kind of shows how stupid the Imperials are. Like, they're
Those two
terrible
guys
drivers.
crashed with nobody shooting them.
It's like, come on, guys. Well, I mean, it's their first bit of action that they've seen in probably like 5 years,
That is very true.
they're probably a
It
little uncoordinated.
it was a lot of fun though, seeing how they go off the cliff and you get to kind of follow them on the drop, and then they
Oh,
kind of
dude,
come down. That was really cool.
that
We
was
saw it in
really
the
cool. A lot
trailer.
of guts. I don't know if I could do that. How I'd
Yeah,
be too scared.
no, it was really good. It was fun. And I
Uh,
love the whole turret stuff with Grief Karga and the freighter when they're in the speeder freighter they had.
they did such a really good job with that whole scene. I really enjoyed that whole escape scene. And
Oh
so
my
he's
gosh,
like sitting
that's
there shooting them all, boom, 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 and
well
then TIE
that
fighters come in. It's
scene
like, God, crap.
when the scout trooper was on the freighter, and then he has him on his nav computer, and it's like boop 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 with like an actual person. It just
Yeah,
blows him up. That was pretty gnarly, man.
I'm gonna try and make a shirt out of that if I can.
Oh my
Because
gosh,
I thought that was really funny.
I love the TIE fighters though. I like how you get to see them take off. You don't ever get to see that in the
That's
movies.
true. It's that they're not just like usually when we see in the movies, we do get to see them take off, but they're usually inside like a Star Destroyer or something.
Yeah.
So they're already like
Well,
docked
you did.
full
That's right. You
standard.
saw in the Force Awakens. You got to see a actual TIE fighter in a hangar.
Hmm.
But it was cool to see them off the ground, how their wings kind of fold, and then how they. I
Yeah,
thought it was really cool. It was fun.
And it's just kind of funny. It's like the whole facility is blown up, and you just see this five TIE fighters come out, and
Yeah,
like, oh,
it's like that's
I'm
the
like,
last of them.
that's the last of them.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, guys, you better not screw up because there's only 5 of
What's
you left.
yeah.
Then Mando just shows up in the Razor Crest, like boom, 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 just picks them
Oh
off.
man, those shots when Mando was flying the Razor Crest and he was just and they get they get out their the binoculars and they're watching him and you just see him flying straight up and then he shoots and then he goes straight down and they're just flying towards each other. That was really epic. Those are awesome
Dude,
shots.
yeah. Every episode, I'm really amazed by the film. Yeah, filmography. No, no, no.
Cinematography.
Cinematography. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. They just have such a great way of doing some of the shots that just look really epic. And again, with the clouds flying through the clouds, you got Greek Karga and Cara Dune. They're just sitting on the ground going, "Is he alive? Is he alive?" And then he just
Well, it
comes out
was
of the clouds
fun.
like dun 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 dun.
Well, and then even Mithril was cheering. He's like, yeah, like it's kind of funny. So he's like totally on board.
A character I didn't think I would like, but Mithril's.
No, yeah,
I like Mithril.
yeah, I do
I
too.
hope we see more of him, which I think we will. I just hope we see more of Cara Dune and Greek Cargo. Like, uh, I wonder if because they kind of did the same thing with the first season, the fourth episode. They
Yeah.
teamed up, and then we didn't see him until the last 2 episodes.
It's just it was a fun scene when they pull over in the freighter and they were watching him, and it's like you got to see it through the audience's eyes, but it's like they were the audiences, and it was fun. They were just cheering
Yeah,
him on. It was really cool. They're like, man, check this guy out. He's tearing it up. And they're all just kind of kicking back, enjoying the show. It was fun.
yeah. It was like this whole episode was a fun adventure with a little bit of lore and story building,
Yeah.
and overall, just what they did was really good. Um, and even after that, and then Razor Crest just flies off. Baby,
Well,
I
I like when
keep
he
wanting to
was
say it's
going.
Baby Yoda, but I mean like they call him the child or the asset, but
Yeah.
everybody knows him as Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Baby
So
Yoda, the
I know the
child.
difference.
Well,
It's just
it's like
habit.
it's well, and there's certain well, I guess I was gonna say there's certain nicknames that are just easier to say that roll off the tongue. Like Mando is easier to say than Din Djarin,
Yeah,
but
that's
just
why I
a
call
lot of
him
times
Mando.
like yeah, a lot of times I just call him Mando. But Baby Yoda, the child, it's actually Baby Yoda takes more. Baby Yoda is for the child.
Yeah,
3, but it's actually easier to say the child.
which I think is it brings more of the adorableness. Like during that whole fight scene with the Tie Fighters, he's doing the little spins. Baby Yoda sitting
He's
there eating
raising
the
his
cookies.
hands like he's
He
on a
just
roller
raises
coaster.
his. Yeah.
It's good. They had
Uh,
a lot of little fun little
it,
tidbits in
it
there.
yeah, it just made the whole episode really enjoyable. A lot of fun to kind of just watch. Um, like,
I'm totally into season 2 more than I was into season 1. As much as I like
mhm.
season 1, the fillers in season 1 for me, I
They're a little
wasn't.
bit drier.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Tatooine one just for nostalgic sake, and it was fun to see the Tusken Raiders and see that they do sign language and see the whole thing about
Hmm.
that. Hey, this was their land first. You get to see a different perspective, which was kind of fun. But I still felt like you said they were a little dry. They didn't, and they built the story a little bit. I got it, but season 2 has just been a blast so far. Even the spider episode that I heard a lot of people kind of complaining about.
Oh, that
Uh,
was a lot of fun.
yeah, I love that episode. It was really good. It was fun, especially with those X-wing pilots, which you're probably about to mention in the episode. But those guys are awesome.
Yeah, I like to see. I like seeing that they have like a little bit more presence. They're kind of as important as Cardoon and Greek Karga, but in a different
Yeah,
way.
yeah, with
Um,
the whole him trying to get her back on the rebellion.
well, not only that, it's just shown that they have like a presence in the galaxy, and
Yeah.
they're kind of like the police, and they're
Oh yeah.
they're still trying to make sure that everything's being cleaned up.
He's all
And
like,
so,
Grief Karga's like, anything else I can do for you, officer? It was
yeah,
just kind of
exactly.
funny.
So they're kind of like the space police
Yeah.
at this point. And so it's kind of cool that they hear of this little facility being destroyed, and so they come to investigate it. And they're like, okay. And then the Razor Crest left. She's like, whoa, whoa, whoa! I didn't say anything about the Razor Crest.
Yeah.
It's like our transcoder droids can't tell anything about pre-Empire or whatever. And he's like, this isn't Coruscant.
Yeah.
And so he kind of denies that Mando was there, kind of holding his secret, I guess, trying to keep
It
him out
was
of their radar.
it was really cool to see that when he was talking to Cara Dune outside, and he was basically telling her, hey, like, I know something's going on, but other people aren't believing it. I need you to help me out here. I'm
which
trying to
is
get people on board with this.
which is really cool because in the book Bloodlines and some of the other sequel or pre-sequel books, they have Leia talking with Poe Dameron. Like Poe Dameron's being recruited because she's like, everybody is just kind of ignoring this. We know something's going on in the Outer
Yeah,
Rim.
she sent him
We know,
out on a secret
so
mission.
I'm gonna have you go investigate this, and that begins the beginning of Force Awakens of Poe on Jakku,
Yeah, well,
and
they're on
and
Hosnian
then
Prime, which was the capital of time. And
and even in Bloodlines, like Leia knows something's going on. That's one of the main reasons why she steps down as senator, as well as everybody finding out that Vader was her father. That
yeah,
kind of put a little wrench in her career, but
sure.
she's like, yeah, there's something going on. So it's kind of cool that Leia's not the only one that's noticing all these things that are happening.
Yeah,
And so we got, which comes to this guy talking to Cardoon and trying to really invoke her feelings from when the Empire was actually around and what happened to her people.
yeah,
So it's like, oh,
yeah. I
you're a
love the
really good
mention of
soldier.
Alderaan there. Yeah,
You're a really good soldier. We could use someone like you. Not a joiner, Blue. Oh well, who did you lose during that fire?
everybody.
On Alderaan. On Alderaan, everybody. Well,
Yeah,
I'm sorry for your loss. And then they sit there and slides that little emblem down,
yeah,
and then you kind of get that little moment of her kind of just like sitting there thinking. And so he definitely stirred something in her.
yeah. That was good.
But yeah, and I know that there was a little bit of talk of a Cara Dune spinoff, and then some people said that it got canceled.
Mhm.
So I don't know if there's their little attempt at have giving her kind of like a reason for a sideline story, which I
Yeah,
think would be cool. Her going around cleaning up the mess sometime, and then it's Mando that's coming in as a cameo.
as a side character.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like how they did like Green Arrow and the Flash and all those different things with CW, but a
I
more
think that'd be really cool.
sort of Star Wars version. That would be a lot of fun. And they could bring in a lot of story. They could add a lot of story too that takes us into the sequel era, and they could have
hmm
fun. There's all kinds of cameos at this point. Anything's possible right now. A lot of the all the original Star Wars characters are out there still.
Yeah.
You could have Poe Dameron's parents. I mean, there's a lot of things you can throw. Or, did his parents die in the Battle of Endor? No, they survived
Poe
it, right?
Dameron?
Yeah, his parents
No,
survived the
no,
Battle of Endor,
no.
didn't
Yeah,
they?
they survived.
Yeah, so I mean, a young Kylo Ren, a young you can have Luke for. I mean, there's a lot of things you could throw in there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do.
Wedge Antilles,
Well, at that point, he's retired from the
and
rebellion. He
he's a
doesn't show
lot
back up
younger.
until Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
He's a
Um,
lot younger than
Actually,
Dennis.
no,
So
that's not true. If you're play, I was playing Squadrons,
uh,
and Wedge is still active in the rebellion.
yeah,
It is shortly after the destruction of but but I do know that he kind of settles down, gets married, and just kind of does his own thing.
yeah,
Um, so I don't know. Kind of curious what they're gonna do with Cara Dune.
a lot to look forward to, man.
Oh yeah, tons. Which is making me super excited for the next episode, just with everything that happened in this episode.
Uh,
And
I feel like the next one's gonna be. There's gonna be a lot to talk about. I don't know. That's gonna be awesome.
yeah, there's gonna be tons to talk about because Dave Filoni is gonna be directing it. It's titled The Jedi, so we all know what's gonna happen. We all know that Ahsoka is gonna show up, and I wonder if it's gonna be a longer episode. I mean, come on, it's
We,
got to be. Dave Filoni's gonna give Ahsoka as much screen time as he can.
it was rumored to be what, like 45 minutes.
Okay, yeah, so that's a pretty good that's a solid episode.
But like you said, it's with your theory, if it's true, we're gonna get a lot more of her anyway.
Yeah, and at the very end of this episode, we see something a little bit that a lot of people that follow Legends have recognized, and I recognized it as soon as I saw it too. And I think that they're going to be the ones that are going to go down and give Mando and Ahsoka some heavy fire. It's the Dark Trooper droids.
Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't even mention the Dark Trooper droids.
No, that's what Moff Gideon was sitting there standing and getting ready.
Yeah,
And so that's when he did his like little. I almost expected him to put his hands up and start like fiddling his fingers, going, "Oh, we will be ready," kind of like in a little evil manner. And then the Dark Troopers just kind of like activating behind him, kind of like a little cartoon feel.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I got from it, is that the Dark Troopers are going to be. I think that they're going to be used in the next episode.
Yeah.
And it'd probably be more towards the end of the episode. It'll be
We
kind of
will
like
be ready.
I think it's gonna be like a little invasion. It's like Razor Crest gets down. We have some moments with Ahsoka. Maybe he's trying to find her. Finally meets up with her. They talk a little bit, and then in the sky you just see a Star Destroyer comes down, and then a couple shuttles coming down, and then the droids come out.
It was really cool to see that that Star Destroyer that he was on.
Oh yeah, it was really
It was the
enjoyed
first.
it.
Yeah, that was really awesome. A lot to look forward to in the future
Yeah,
episodes, man.
so hope we answered your question on breaking down the whole episode. But I'm sure if you have any more questions, you'll hit me up. Um, so we do have a few more questions that we'd like to answer from you guys. Um, let's see. We have Jacob Simba from Instagram. His question is, whatever happened to the slave wand, and do you think it will appear in the show? What are your thoughts on that?
I That's a good question, because when you saw Boba Fett, he just looked like he was wandering around. But maybe he's living in the slave one. Maybe that's his shelter right now.
Could be.
I mean, I don't know if he's living in a cave.
We don't know how long he was in the pit. We don't know.
Yeah, like we said, it's been, yeah. They said that you know, in the stomach of the Sarlacc, you'll find the new definition of pain and suffering as you're slowly digested over 1,000 years. So who knows? He could have been suffering for a couple of years. We don't know. Maybe he got out right away. The ship was on Tatooine. Nothing happened to it. We didn't see anything happen to it. So it is on Tatooine. I think the ship's still there.
It could have gotten salvaged like his armor. That's
Yeah.
one of the theories. And the more that I think about it, I'm actually curious to see if we'll actually see Boba Fett again. If that little cameo was just
I
saying
know.
he's alive and that's it.
Someone had a comment on Instagram. We were doing all these Ahsoka posts and or Bo-Katan posts. People were like, "Hey, so is Boba Fett still a thing?" Like,
I
because
want.
yeah, there's all these. Whether I don't know, is Boba Fett even going to be in the rest of this season? Maybe they're saving his story for the next season. I don't know. It's just,
It could be.
yeah. I think it's
Because
just a fun tease that he's there in the first place, but I don't know what he has to
I
do
think
with any of this.
I think I'd be happy just not seeing Boba Fett again. I think that was a cool little thing. It's like, okay, he's saying farewell to his armor as Mando drives off,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, all right, back to my life. Like maybe he settled down. That was one of my theories in the beginning, and so
That he's just done.
I wonder if he's just done, and if we'll actually see him, or if that's the only time we'll see him.
Yeah.
So as far as the slave one, it could have been
Well,
salvaged. He could be living in it.
he's got Boba
Don't
Fett's
know.
armor, so that he has the armor, so that could lead to him meeting him. If Boba
Could
Fett
be
even
if
wants the armor
both.
back, we don't
Yeah, I
we
was
don't
gonna
even
say.
know.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say if
feel
Boba Fett even
see,
cares, because
and
if he
that's the
doesn't have
thing.
it by now, I don't think he really cares to
Yeah,
have it.
he could have got it off the marshal if he wanted to.
Easy, easy.
Yeah. So
He's one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy of his time, and
I think you might be right about that. He might be retired.
and yeah, I don't
Thrown
think
in the towel.
I don't think a few Jawas would have stopped him from getting his armor back.
No.
It barely stopped Mando from getting his ship parts.
It would be interesting to see that story, though.
It
To
would
see
be.
why and what he's doing, what he's up to.
I wouldn't be disappointed to see not Mando, Boba Fett again.
I'm sure we will. But
So
I don't know that it's going to be, relevant to the story they're going to in the season.
So if Boba Fett does come back, I think we will see the Slave One again, because that's his iconic ship. And
Absolutely.
so I think that'll be what we'll see if he ever comes back to find Mando to get his armor back. So that's just my thought. Next question is from Jaboy Leo. He's asking us our favorite Mandalorian episode.
Cool.
For me so far, I'd probably say episode 3 of season 2. Just because of a lot of the nostalgic Clone Wars references and just seeing Bo-Katan. I really enjoyed the heist and seeing the Empire there and getting to see Death Watch abilities being used by Bo-Katan and her two sidekicks.
I just I just wonder if I'm going to be more excited. Uh, if I was more excited to see Bo-Katan, or if I'll be more excited to see Ahsoka.
Oh, I'm more excited to see Ahsoka. I think that's one of the reasons why
I
I'm
I
excited. Really like
am
the episode 3 is because of the mention of Ahsoka.
I am at this point. But it's interesting because before season 2 started, the rumor of Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka was much stronger than the Katie Sackhoff rumor playing Bo-Katan, and seeing her just totally freaking shocked me, man. I was like not expecting that. It's like I was expecting him to get rescued, and I kind of figured some Mandalorian character, Sabine Wren or Bo-Katan for sure, is going to show up, and it's probably going to be Bo-Katan because the black saber we saw at the end of season 1. But I was still really freaking surprised, and not just that, the character delivered. It
Yeah,
she knocked it out of the park, man. Like she totally pulled off real life Bo-Katan. It was awesome. So the question is, now I'm a little bit nervous about seeing real life Ahsoka. So I am more excited to see Ahsoka, but I'm also more nervous.
because we're wondering if she'll deliver.
And
And
they're probably not going to,
I think
but
she
it
will
would be
because Dave Filoni is going to be directing it. So I don't
well.
think Dave Filoni is going to give us something he's disappointed with. If Dave Filoni's
Yeah.
if Dave Filoni is satisfied, then I think we will be.
Well, I'm just really
Because
curious. It would be so cool. I know this is just going to be. I'm going to be let down because I want this really bad, but it would be really cool to have Ashley Eckstein's voice over. I know Rosario
I've
Dawson's a fully capable actress to just play the character, and they're probably just going to have her voice. It would be super cool though to have her voice over it. It would be awesome. But then again,
yeah,
she is a
I'm
lot older,
already
so
I'm already taking that out of the equation, so I'm not disappointed. I'll
yeah.
be like I said, if Dave Filoni is happy with the character that's presented in the episode, then I'm
And
sure
she
we're gonna.
might.
I think we're gonna get something that nobody's gonna be. I don't think anybody will be disappointed.
Well, I think Rosario Dawson will probably have her own spin on the voice too. She'll pull it off fine. I just thought it would
Yeah.
be. It's kind of hopeful thinking like Ray Park still playing the character by having Sam Witwer still voice him at the end of
Mm-hmm.
Solo. I thought that was so cool. But it's probably just hopeful,
A little
wishful
bit different.
thinking.
We'll see.
Especially how much Ahsoka could possibly be in the show. It might be cheesy after a while.
Mm-hmm.
With the
True.
whole Darth Maul thing, he didn't really talk that much. So we'll see.
So here's another interesting question, and it comes from one of our buddy Kenny. Um, his question is kind of starts off with Moff Gideon was wearing a light bright on his
But
chest in chapter 12. Was he injured or is he trying to inject himself with midichlorians and trying to
mm,
so I kind of want to steer away from that theory. Like maybe he tried, but I don't think that's the case here. I think it has more to do with the snow clones and
here we go.
Palpatine's return.
Wow. Um, briefly, I actually going back to the last question. I didn't say my favorite episode, and mine was
Oh
actually
yeah,
episode 3
that's
of
right. I thought
season
you.
1.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Episode 3 of season 1 was my favorite episode, just because I almost said season 3, episode 3, season 2 was my favorite episode, but the third episode of season 1 was probably the most edge of my seat experience I've had so far. Just seeing all those Mandalorians come in and rescue him, and the whole hype of him. It's you first get to see him change from bounty hunter to actually having a heart and caring about this kid, and he's just fighting his way through saving this child. I thought it was so fun, and all the way up to the end with the whole like start of the line. This is the way. That's where the whole thing started. Was in the episode. Just there was so much cool stuff in that episode. Anyway, back to the other question.
Yeah, so I mean that's just my thought on it.
Yeah,
I think it's just more of prep for them cementing the sequels
yeah.
and kind of tying it in with the whole midichlorian count and injecting it.
People didn't like midichlorians to begin with in the prequels when the whole idea came out. They liked the whole just idea of the Force just being something that's natural and it's
Mm-hmm.
out there, and you can tap into it if you're in tune with it. It was more of a spiritual thing, and then they made it more of a scientific thing in the prequels. So that's going to
Yeah,
put it even more over the edge. I think. I mean, we'll. I mean, who knows? I mean, people are kind of buying the midi-chlorian thing now, so who knows, man? Maybe they won't like it at first, and they'll like it later. The whole, time kind of fixes everything.
Yeah, I mean, it
So,
kind of jumps back until George Lucas's like original idea, like before some of like his scribblings for the movies, and
mm,
even Han Solo was force sensitive. Like Luke was actually gonna die on Hoth, and Han Solo was actually gonna be the one that would continue the training and take up the mantle of the Jedi and start learning the Force.
wow.
But because I remember reading something, it had like every character that we know, all the main characters that we know in the original trilogy, and their Force, uh, their midichlorian count essentially, and Han Solo had like I think like 100, 200 or something like that count, whereas like Yoda had like 13,000 or 30,000, or it was a really high number, and
And how much did Anakin have?
uh, more than
Not
more
even
than more
not
than
even
Yoda for
Master
sure.
Yoda has a midichlorian count that high.
And Lucas was kind of going on the whole thing of like the whole samurai, like you have everybody's connected to the force, everybody has the ability to learn the force, you
Hmm.
just needed a master. And so anybody could go to a master and become stronger in the force as long as they trained. It'd just be harder for other people than
Interesting.
somebody who's naturally talented in the force. And so I wonder if they're trying to like play into that whole uh, try and bring back some of his ideas. I don't know. I think it's just to do with the clones. I don't I don't think it's anything to do with Moff Gideon.
Sure.
But lots of questions, lots of lots of discussion.
Keep
Uh,
asking them. It's fun.
yeah, just keep asking them. We got a lot of ideas coming up.
Well, we learn as we get the questions too, because some things we just don't know. We gotta do research after we read them, after we
Yeah,
discuss them.
and a lot of it's fun to speculate, and so keep giving us some of these hard questions because even if we don't know them, even if the comics or the books or anything like that don't really explain it, we love to speculate it based off of the things that are said or
Well,
done.
part of the fun is speculating, and then when the episode or the movie or whatever we're talking about comes out, you get to see whether we were right or wrong, or how far off, or how close we were.
Yeah, and so we'll see. Next week's episode is going to give us a little bit more key information to the rest of the story.
Oh yeah,
Um, so as always, guys, check the links down below. Give us a follow on Instagram. Check out our Twitch and check out all of our cool merch. We've got some cool shirts coming through. Working on a few more designs, and I think up until I want to say our merch store on orders of $50 or more, you guys get free shipping. So take a look at that. Um, and we'll see you guys next week. Echo 2 out.
Echo 5 out
May the force be with you.
always.